Daddy teaches you can be anything in this world that you want to be, right? Don't Daddy teach you that?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're black or white or any color.
Doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown, yellow, right?
Black.
And how we treat people is based on who they are and not what color they are.
And if they're nice and smart.
See, this is how children think right here. Critical race theory wants to end that. Not with my children. It's not gonna happen. My baby's gonna know that no matter what she wants to be in life, all she has to do is work hard, and she can become that.
Work hard, even though you don't know anyone. You can make friends.
Yeah, you can make friends, no matter what color they are. So we need to stop CRT. Period. Point blank. Children do not see skin color, man. They love everybody. If they're good people, they love them.
We pray for people that are hurt.
I just see things as if parents aren't standing up and fighting back and, going to the school board meetings and meeting with the school boards and just speaking up for their kids, then things will get worse, but that's why I made the video I made, and I wanted people to wake up to what's really going on. And they're trying to brainwash our children.
Yeah, the message that you shared in this video is really the same message that Martin Luther King Jr. shared, of course, and the whole world appreciates the power and the sense of that message, and that is that we don't want people to be judged by the colour of the skin. We want them to be judged by the content of their character.
Amen. That's exactly what he said, and I believe that's exactly what he meant. And that was a big reason behind why I even did the video in the first place and why I come out against critical race theory, because I want young black children to know that no matter what you go through, no matter where you've been, you can overcome. I want young white children to know that you are not racist because of the color of your skin. And teaching that is in itself racist. And now, you see the critical race theory being pushed down our children's throats. And it's like, no, we don't want our children to look at each other and the first thing they see is their race. The first thing they see is the person that's quote unquote oppressing them or their oppressors, right? Because the black children are supposed to be looked at as the oppressed ones and the white children are supposed to be looked at as the oppressors.
Why are we focused on the things that we can't control, that we had no role in choosing?
Right. We were born these colors. We were born these races. It doesn't make any sense, man, especially to push that on children. It's like they're trying to get them early so that it's hard to unbrainwash them. Once you get that set in a child's mind that their color is the most important thing, how do you get that out of them? It's going to take a lot.
Do you want her to confront racism when and if she finds it?
I believe by doing exactly what I was doing in that video. And that's teaching our children that color doesn't matter. Race doesn't matter. The person matters. Whoever you are on the inside matters. If we all teach our children that, guess what? We'll have a less racist world. That doesn't mean that they won't run across people who are bigoted in some ways, but those, you have to teach your children, those are just ignorant people. And we're always going to have ignorant people in the world. You're never going to completely eradicate racism, but you can instill in your child morals and you can show them how to treat people.
Just coming off of May 31st, marking the 100 years of the Tulsa riots, it is sad that we are even contemplating something like critical race theory, where children will be separated by their skin color and deemed permanently oppressors or oppressed in 2021. That is not teaching the truth, unless you believe that whites are better than blacks. I have personally heard teachers teaching CRT, and we have had an assembly shut down because Duval County Public School System consultant thought it would be a great idea to separate students by race. This is unacceptable. CRT is not racial sensitivity or simply teaching unfavorable American history or teaching Jim Crow history. CRT is deeper and more dangerous than that. CRT, in its outworking today, is a teaching that there is a hierarchy in society where white, male, heterosexual, able-bodied people are deemed the oppressor, and anyone else outside of that status is oppressed. That's why we see corporations like Coca-Cola asking their employees to be less white, which is ridiculous. I don't know about you, but telling my child or any child that they are in a permanent oppressed status in America because they are black is racist, and saying that white people are automatically above me, my children, or any child is racist as well. This is not something that we can stand for in our country. And don't take it from me, look at the writers of these types of publications. Our ancestors, white, black, and others, hung, bled, and died right alongside each other to push America towards that more perfect union. If this continues, we will look back and be responsible for the dismantling of the greatest country in the world by reverting to teaching hate and that race is a determining factor on where your destiny lies. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
My oldest daughter, her first week of school, she was asked what pronoun she wanted to go by. And that was like a big red flag to me because she's not, she's just a kid, she's not paying attention to that kind of thing. And so I was like, okay, I need to really pay attention to what they're going to be teaching. So she had actually recorded a lesson in class, and that let me know that critical race theory was in full force. And so I've been learning about it for a long time, and I knew that I had to speak up about it. They try to make it sound like that critical race theory is not really being taught in schools. Well, no, they don't have a book called Critical Race Theory that they tell the kids to open up. But what they do is they weave it into lessons and what they're already teaching. So I haven't had it directly, but they are totally pushing this in classes. But they try to use the excuse that it's not really being taught in schools.
So I heard my daughter's teacher, she brought in several books that they were going to talk about, which is great. And some of them had some racial themes in them, which is fine. Let's have those conversations. However, when she started to explore those books, she started to break them down into their different groups and ask them by group their grievances, basically. And this is an outworking of critical race theory. It is not that they are, opening up books and saying, okay, class, let's open up our critical race theory book. It's the teachings are an outworking of critical race theory that is being woven into official curriculum. And let's talk about the success of Black Americans and our contributions to this wonderful American society. Those things are important. We want all of those things to be taught, the good, the bad, the ugly. That's not what critical race theory is. Critical race theory is much more dangerous. It is teaching children that if you are white, heterosexual, male, able-bodied, if you fall into that category, you are automatically deemed an oppressor. If you are anything other than that, you are automatically oppressed. That is not a society that we want to have. That's not something that we want to impress upon our children.
Well, the essence of critical race theory is breaking people into groups. And instead of using class, because we're Americans, they use race. And anybody that is put into an automatic and permanent state of oppressor or oppressed is an insult to everyone. And that is not something that's tenable in the United States. When we tell people that they can't do something, right, they won't even try. So if you're telling young Black children that they are anybody outside of that white male oppressor class or race, that they can't do anything, we are setting our future up, and our children, who are our most precious resources, you're setting them up for failure. And what will we look back to, right, as a society when we see that, these children have not succeeded?
We don't want racism. We don't want more racism. I am so confused on how Democrats think that you can fight racism with more racism. So this is not a talking point. This is not some conspiracy theory. This is real. It is happening to our children. And if we don't continue to stand up, they will continue to press this upon our children. And they poked the wrong people when it comes to our mama bears, because when you mess with our kids, you have gone too far.
So when you talk about critical race theory, which is pretty much going to be teaching kids how to hate each other, how to dislike each other, that's pretty much That's pretty much, I don't care what you say, it's pretty much what it's gonna all come down to. You gonna deliberately teach kids, this white kid right here got it better than you because he white? You gonna personally tell a white kid, oh, the black people are all down and suppressed. How do I have 2 medical degrees if I'm sitting here oppressed? How do I get 2 medical degrees? No mom, no dad in the house. Worked my way through college. Sat there and hustled my butt off to get through college. You gonna tell me somebody that looked like all y'all white folks kept me from doing that? Are you serious? Not one white person ever came to me and say, well, son, you're never going to be able to get to work because you know the black people. But guess what? What's sickening about this whole thing is what y'all doing right now is already something I do in my community right now to speak out against stuff because black folks are getting told by other black folks, oh, you know you ain't going to be able to do nothing out there in the world because them white folks ain't going to let you get no, oh, you know you're not going to be able to do it here because you know, the white man going to keep you down. Well, how did I get where I am right now if some white man kept me down? How am I now directing over folks that look just like you guys in this room right now? How? What kept me down? What oppressed me? I worked for myself from off the streets to where I am right now. You gonna sit here and tell me this lie of critical race theory? This the reason why black folks can't get ahead because of white folks? Are you kidding me? This is what we come to now. I can't believe we even talking about this right now. The last thing we're gonna say right here is something that's crazy. Martin Luther King said he wanted his kids to grow up in a world where they are judged by the contents of their what? Character. Not their skin. If they let this stuff go on right now, it is absolutely doing the complete reverse of what he's doing. So when February comes, don't talk about Martin Luther King. When February comes, don't talk about Black History Month. Y'all gonna sit there and just pretty much pee on his grave with this nonsense? That's exactly what's about to happen. Lastly, we are talking about our kids. We are talking about our children. What's so sick about me, I love the Discovery Channel. You will see that on Discovery Channel, animals will put their lives on the line to protect their children from danger, to protect their children from what we call predators. I'm in the hood. I'm in the communities. I'm out there with folks in their face. I've been doing this stuff since I was 18 years old, talking to black folks. And you know what? None of them are buying this nonsense. None of them are. But if you want to implement this into the school system, I guarantee you to the day that I die, I'm going to be the very person right there debunking stuff, tearing stuff down, letting them know they can do exactly what I did and get exactly where I am by putting themselves to work and getting there. And there's not one white person ever don't keep any of them from getting there. So the CRT stuff, BS.
What is the backstory to this? Like, what made you decide to go to the school board meeting? What is the story?
I was simply asked to go, and what I was told is that, Ty, there's no one that's in the black community that ever shows up in these school board meetings, and some of the big topics that they talk about is what's going on in the black neighborhoods, and they're trying to introduce this type of what they call curricula into the school system that may possibly be teaching kids basically to be racist against each other. And I'm like, what is this? There's like, it's called critical race theory. So different friends of mine handed me different versions. It's almost like a Bible. Like you got the New International Version, the King James Version of critical race theory. And I'm reading through all these things, but once I read through them, the basis of it was they are teaching racism. They are teaching kids to be racist against each other. And so when I went to this school board meeting, I got to sitting down. I just wanted to hear everybody's take on it because I read it. I got my take from it. I heard people get up and talk about what their take was on it. You got some that actually opposed it, but majority were like, they're for it. Like, this is what we need. This needs to be taught because it's our fault what's happened to the black people. Look what we've done. Our forefathers, we've inherited their DNA, and because of that, our white privilege, this is what we're doing to the black communities. And as I sat there, no kidding, because I was so in tune with what everybody was talking about, I literally looked around the corner like this over my shoulder, like, there ain't no black folks in here. Yeah. I was the only one that was in there that was black, and they're actually talking about somebody that looks exactly like me. So I let everybody kind of say their piece, and I just like, okay, I'm gonna wait. And after that, I just had to get up and just explode and let these people know you have completely, in other words, lost your mind. If you're gonna tell me that based off the color of your skin, everybody that's in that room was white, as you seen, I turn around and say, you're gonna tell me one of you white people kept me from doing this? Absolutely not. That's nonsense. And once that was over and done, do you think anybody approached me and said, well, hey, this is where you're wrong at?
Right.
None.
What was the reaction like in the room, sir?
Complete silence. I mean, after the applauding, it was complete silence. And then after that, a lot of people that were speaking up beforehand, I actually invited some of those high schoolers and some of the middle-aged kids there. I was like, I can take you guys exactly to the areas where I grew up at and show you there. There are people there. You will be safe. I would take you there. You can spend a few nights there so you can see how this thing really is. You think any of them wanted to do it? No, all they want to do is get what they call the clout or whatever for saying, we're out here with the people, we're with the black people, we're standing with them. No, they're not. I mean, I'm calling it out. It's a complete fake. They're not doing any of those things they claim that they're doing. Just because you're out there marching with black people does not mean you are actually in those neighborhoods helping black people at all. It's just all a farce. It's just all to make themselves look good and feel good about saying, well, by me being white and this going on, I'm supporting them. So that shows that I'm not racist. That shows, no, it's not showing anything. All it's showing is that you are fake. And I'm just calling them what it is. I came from that stuff, so I know fakeness when I see it. When I talk to these parents, they're usually a lot of young mothers. They don't even have an idea what it is. So when this video came out, they were all like, so wait a minute, what is it that they're talking about? They're going to be teaching my son? And I'm like, okay, well, I tell you what, instead of me just telling you, I want you to read it. And then in a day or two, you come back and tell me, what did you get from that? No, they are not going to be teaching my son this. And see, even they were able to pick it up. But they had no idea that the school system is trying to implement it into this education. And so this is what got me. After that video came out, all of a sudden, different people that I don't even know of came, well, we're not teaching it yet. We were just thinking about teaching. It's like, oh, it's almost like the equivalence of me seeing a kid being lured away by a stranger with candy. And as he being lured away, I go over there and I bust it up. And the stranger goes, well, I wasn't going to kidnap them or anything. I just wanted to see if he wanted to see my truck.
Right, yeah, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. So you went to this meeting and somebody said to you, actually, they're sitting here conversing about black people, and yet there's no black people there.
No.
Which signifies, obviously, that they are just operating on a black stereotype, right? This is a stereotype of what a black person is.
Yes.
And I am the bearer of my forefathers' sins.
See, they talk about, and they kept on saying, well, we need to teach real history of Christopher Columbus. Why is nobody talking about in the late 1870s, post-slavery, when black folks were just as socioeconomically successful as almost white people were? They were just as married, just as much as white people were. They were doing jobs. They were increasing things by hundreds of folds. Nobody is talking about that part of history. And that was during a time when it was actually okay to be racist and okay to have systemic racism and all that going on. But yet black people were still succeeded in doing well. So now in our time in 2021, please, I'm sorry, I just can't take it anymore. No way. I'm not buying any of that. No. No white person can sit there and tell me my experience. And no white person can sit there and tell me that a black person cannot achieve anything that they do not want to achieve. I know that y'all trying to push, when I say y'all, I mean like this system, this narrative is trying to be pushed on kids, on children, on black people, that the reason why they cannot achieve anything is because of something that happened completely in the past. What about right now? What can you do right now?
In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Now I have a dream that we will implement love, not hate, or supporting another Jim Crow's agenda. CRT is not an honest dialogue. It is a tactic that was used by Hitler and the Ku Klux Klan on slavery very many years ago to dumb down my ancestors so we could not think for ourselves. CRT is racist. It is abusive. It discriminates against one's color. Let me educate you. An honest dialogue does not oppress. An honest dialogue does not implement hatred or injustice. It's to communicate without deceiving people. Today, we don't need your agreement. We want action and a backbone for what we asked for today, to ban CRT. We don't want your political advertisement to divide our children or belittle them. Think twice before you indoctrinate such racist theories. You cannot tell me what is or is not racist. Look at me. I had to come down here today to tell you to your face that we are coming together and we are strong. This will not be the last. Greet and meet respectfully.
My child is not oppressed, and don't assume that. As long as you Marxists push your unconstitutional agenda on my child, she will not be returning back to Loudoun County schools.
You stood up there and did this on camera. Why?
Well, it contradicts everything that Martin Luther King fought for. It's hatred, Marxist ideology, and it places the child in a loophole of oppression, making them feel as a victim. I can't stand for that.
Amazing, amazing. So describe the kinds of things that you're fighting against. So the school is teaching children to judge one another on the basis of appearance, of skin color. Is that right?
Yes. Well, it's our job as parents to raise our children, not the school board. One example I can give you was the school was replacing the morning announcement with news. The second, children reached out to find out how they could help and join a club to see if they could, relate with one another, undivided. And they were denied by the color of their skin for the Equity Ambassador Club.
So certain kids couldn't get in. I don't even know what colors you're talking about, but the fact remains kids could not get into a club because they were the wrong color.
Correct.
Well, how is that different from darker periods we consider evil in American history? That sounds very similar.
Well, plain example. You cannot further brotherhood of a man by encouraging class hatred. Our Constitution is what unites us, not the color of our skin.
Yes.
So America, it's just time for us to stand up for one another. You know, this is the last free country.
At which point did you realize, hey, something's wrong about what my kids are being taught? When did you have that moment of clarity, Chantel?
It was when I noticed that everything that Dr. Martin Luther King had taught us was being contradicted. His dream is being basically threatened by Marxist ideology, and CRT is exactly that. So I'm about love. You know, when I look out my window and I hear children playing, and when they knock on my door, they're not asking, hey, can I, you know, by the color of my child, can she come out? No, it's, can my friend come out to play? So I'm just here advocating for children.
What was it about CRT? What was it about what your children were being taught that was wrong, in your opinion, as a parent?
Well, I am totally against any child being pushed down a loophole of oppression and becoming a victim. I think every child should have the proper tools to become successful and strong, not, you know, be judged on your color. And we all know that the Constitution is what keeps us together, not the color of our skin. So that's what I teach in my home. And I know that there's a million Americans out there that feel the same way.
I never knew that there were so many parents that felt the way I did. I love people. So for anyone to go against, you know, good, but be okay with evil, you can't fix a bad reaction with another bad action. It just doesn't make sense.
My name is Ian Rice. I've got 2 children here at the Caledonia School District. It's very apparent here by all of the parents that have spoken that this board and the school district is failing. More importantly, I came here to talk about critical race theory. This theory was never meant to be brought into grade schools, high schools, at all. It's actually taught in the collegiate atmosphere, and more importantly, the legal portion of the collegiate atmosphere, to see different laws through the lens of race, from an ethics and an ethical standpoint, right? Not for grade schools and high schoolers. The problem with bringing it to high school and grade school level is that we don't have the educators to properly teach these kids. Instead, they're using it as their own agenda to indoctrinate the kids to hate each other. And whether you believe that to be true or not, the reality is that's what's happening. Critical race theory is teaching that white people are bad. That's not true. That would teach my daughter that her mother is evil. You already have an educator within your staff that has pulled my daughter aside and said, well, you're a minority, so you know better than to engage in certain things.
Wow. Wow.
Whoa. When I was brought to the school's attention, nothing happened to the educator. Instead, my daughter was brought in, and she was ridiculed. So my question is now, with critical race theory being brought in, what is your criteria to educate the educators? And who are you to educate my children, or any of our children, in life issues? That's our job.
Yes.
Your job is to teach them math and science. Our job is to teach them about life. I believe racial issues and tensions across the U.S. are nowhere near what they used to be decades ago. Do we have a long way to go? Sure. Do we still have individuals out there that need to be taught? Absolutely. But I believe the people here don't look at me as a black man. They look at me as a man standing in front of you addressing the issue that we all are very passionate about.
The life issues that our kids are being taught in school, that should be left to the parents in the homes. Our kids need to be taught mathematics, English, reading, writing, those things, science, those things are what the educators are supposed to be teaching our kids. Life issues are our job as parents.
So here is your quote. We don't have the proper educators to teach these kids. That's a problem if you see it that way.
Well, absolutely. Right now, the critical race theory that's being out there, it's supposed to stay in the collegiate atmosphere, not in the grade school and high school levels. Our teachers are not equipped. Not that they can't be educated, but they're not equipped at this particular time to educate our kids in that manner. and nor do us as parents want our kids to be taught in that manner.
Ian, why do you think they're pushing this? What do they want from it?
You know, I believe that they think it'll help with racial tensions in the U.S. and is doing the exact opposite. All they're going to do is continue to draw racial lines and divides and create those wedges and walls higher and wider. It's not a good idea to teach kids to look at different issues through the lens of race in these school settings. They can get along with each other just fine. Let them live life. Let them learn how to live life through the parents' eyes as well. Let the schools teach them the academics. I believe they think they're doing the right thing, but reality is it's doing the wrong thing and it's causing larger issues than they're trying to help with.
You think you can stop it?
I'm going to try. My goal wasn't to vilify anybody. It wasn't to have people lose jobs, any of that nonsense. It was more just to bring the attention to the schools and let them see that though they think they're trying to do something good, they're actually doing wrong. And it's actually causing more issues in our school systems than they believe it is. My own daughter went through a similar issue and was vilified because of her biracial nature. So those teachings, they don't work, not in the form that is being proposed now.
So your wife is white because the comment you made is that you're going to teach my daughter that her mother is evil.
That's correct.
Did your child ask you about that?
She has, and she knows better. Some of the comments that are made in the school systems about the history of white people in America, and look, we all know that there are atrocities across the entire spectrum of history. No matter what the race is, multiple races have had multiple atrocities in their history. But when you teach one fact of it, and when you break it down into racial barriers or racial contexts, that leads one's thought to think, well, maybe this race isn't a good race, or maybe that race isn't a good race. So we have to have the conversations in our home to dispel what's being taught in the schools. It may not be taught specifically that white people are bad, but when you constantly hit our kids in the head with white people did this, white people did this, black people did this, black people did that, Hispanic people did this, Hispanic people did that, they tend to formulate those thoughts of hate, and that's where we have to stop that progress from happening. They're going to learn that from how it's being taught in the schools, not in the home.
There are many other videos I could have shown, but in the interest of time, I'll leave it there. Final thoughts. Every single one of these parents has made the observation that critical race theory stands in direct opposition to Martin Luther King's message of a colorblind America and a world in which we are all judged, not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. The impression they have is not in error. Critical race theory is not a continuation of Martin Luther King's dream, it is a repudiation of it. I address this topic at length in my video, How Critical Race Theory Harms Children. Please check it out, and if you made it this far, know that I appreciate your time, and thank you for watching.